the Industry Insiders, which is presented by Wy'East Academy in partnership with High Cascade, Wendell's, and Seek Skateboarding. I had the pleasure of introducing two legends of snowboarding. The first, I had a powerful, very powerful few years with. One of them was on the U.S. snowboard team, and as we were working together, both as athletes, and then kind of later down the line, I was able to meet up with and start actually working with her as coach and pupil, and we kind of shared both of the responsibilities each. So she kind of mentored me in a lot of aspects as I was doing the same for her. But the experiences we had, really, I took them to heart because she really is, one of those snowboarders that has grit and is not afraid to share the rawness that, just is part of snowboarding, which is what we all love about it. And she kind of feeds off of any type of rider. That's what I really liked about this athlete. Didn't matter if it was a snowboarder or a skier or just a rad human being. She really took that and went with it and really tried to just add her own flair to it. She's a X Games medalist, U.S. Olympic medalist, and just so many accolades, do tour. And we were just getting started because after her win in Sochi, she told me, she's like, I really want to get into slopestyle and start maybe making a career path in that. So one of my good friends wanted to welcome Kaitlyn Farrington. So welcome.
You're going to make me cry. Thanks, Wye.
I know. Can I just add, you didn't mention it, but you coached Kaitlyn to an Olympic gold medal. And I remember that well. And I remember your influence on her and encouraging her to do it her own way, which paid off. And clearly you helped her out a lot. And I'm sure she helped you too.
Thanks, Barrett. Well, for sure. Just phenomenal times together, with the both of you guys. And then she just jumped on, and she's probably one of the chillest, raddest humans I know. She's if you look through her just career path in snowboarding, back in 1994, winning one of the national halfpipe contests and then also big airs, slopestyles, back to halfpipes, trans world poles, best female snowboarder, all the way Olympian, and then Baker Bank slalom champion in the pro division, which is probably one of her favorites. All the way to recently getting the Legends Award in the trans world snowboarding. She's also part of a company that's really holds the values of being environmentally conscious, which, they've been doing it since day one. It wasn't something that they adopted later on. Like, they believed in the practice of holding it sustainably for every generation, which I feel like blends purely with the type of person this still young spirit is. But I'm really stoked to introduce as well Barrett, Christy to the conversation today. So welcome you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, you guys are amazing, and again, you guys inspire us all. So I guess first, kind of, what are you guys doing now? Have you guys started your own cooking show yet, or?
I mean, I've definitely been doing a bunch of cooking. No, I mean, I live in Whitefish now, and so took a different path from the half pipe, and now just kind of hanging, getting through the quarantine with everybody on Zoom.
Awesome. It's pretty cool to have the platforms we have these days.
Yeah.
Sick. What about you, Barrett?
Yeah. I live in the Northwest. I live in Washington, and on the Olympic Peninsula, which is where the Mervyn factory is. So we build canoe and lib boards just a few miles from the house here. It's a nice place to quarantine. We're pretty comfortable with social isolation, I'd say. When we're not out at snowboarding events, we like to stay around home and be here. So this is working okay so far. But yeah, it's a beautiful place. There's the Olympic Mountain Range behind us, and then there's there's tidal water here, so there's sometimes surf nearby, and it's the best of both worlds when we can get to it. But yeah, we're doing good.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think we're all trying to get creative and use this self-reflection time as just trying to strengthen each of our own individual character, I guess. But with that, are you guys reading any good books? Listening to any good music podcasts?
My book right now is Talking to Strangers. It's pretty good.
Okay.
Malcolm Gladwell book. I don't know. It's pretty interesting. Because I feel like as me, I've gotten into a lot of really random situations I've put myself in through my snowboard career after halfpipe. I kind of got stuck on a couple of trips that didn't go that well. And so it's a book that kind of a friend recommended it to me that kind of jumps into like asking why you trust people so well at first sight of meeting somebody. So it's pretty interesting. It's been keeping me busy.
I like that. That's a great concept. My wife's great with that. And I'm just like, hey, everybody. Whereas she can like see someone and be like, I don't know. Like we had her car broken into the other day, and she just felt this vibe from this one person and came back to it. I'm like, you're just brilliant. You're so in tune with that. So I need to maybe catch up on that book.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good one.
Yeah, I hope we have time to hear some of Kaitlyn's awkward social stories, like the situations you have found yourself in.
I mean,
some good stories.
Barrett's always one that I reach out to. I've known Barrett since I was 15, and she kind of led me through my snowboarding career. And so I feel like you've been there for all of my awkward stories and encounters, because I always like, Barrett, you're never going to guess what happened this time. It's pretty good.
So you met... No, go ahead, Barrett.
I said you always come out ahead. You always come out with a smile on your face.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you do, Kaitlyn. For sure. And so how long ago did you guys meet? Sorry, Kaitlyn, I didn't really catch that.
We met at Mount Hood, like when I was 15, so 15 years ago.
Okay. And how did you meet?
Snowboarding through Barrett sending me boards through my old snowboard coach, Andy. And I don't really remember. I just remember, were you pregnant? Yeah, I don't know. I just remember meeting you at Mount Hood and Andy being like, here you go. Maybe you just had Canon, or it was before Canon. Yeah, you just had Canon. So it was crazy meeting you guys with your rig in the parking lot, and that's what you guys would do, shuttle up to Mount Hood and go snowboarding.
Yeah, we'd be taking turns, changing diapers and taking runs.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, that trip was fun. I remember because Andy Gilbert was your coach, and I had a relationship with the coaches. I mean, I didn't really work with coaches myself as a snowboarder. It was sort of before that really took off, but through my work with Nike at the time, with Nike 6.0, I had like a network of coaches that we were seeding Nike shoes to for their kids. And so just in talking to these coaches all the time, Andy and I hit it off, and Andy said, I have this girl that I wish I could have pulled up the photos. I remember he sent me photos of you in the pipe too back then, and that was really cool. Actually, he might have printed them off and mailed them to me, because I don't know if we were emailing but he said, I have this girl, she ripped, she's really strong, and I think he told me you were going to be at Hood, so we were there and met up, and we had a couple trips to Hood, but yeah, Kaitlyn had she always was having a good time, and she always just made it fun, and it was always important to me through Nike and then GNU, obviously, to work with people that I felt represented snowboarding well, and the values that I hold dear, like keeping it fun, and you can be competitive and be a world-class athlete, but still have a good time and make it attractive to other people. And like, it's hard to be around Kaitlyn and not want to be a part of whatever she's doing, because she does make it all fun. So, so that was an easy connection to make, and I'm so glad we did.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I learned that making it fun was how I kept kept at snowboarding, because I think right when I started working with Elijah, I had quit the US team because I just like didn't work well with the coaches, and that's kind of what I was looking to do, is work with some other people. So Elijah and Boydie came into my life as my coaches for a few years, and we just, I don't know, and that's what, you know, being able to make those decisions that like, you don't know, nobody knows yourself better than you. And so I think that's something that I learned at not a young age, but kind of. And so I always just followed my heart on making those decisions, and that's what I think helped me get to the Olympics, really. Having Elijah by my back fighting for me too.
Oh yeah.
No, yeah.
Oh, fun. I remember I think we had Tim Zimmerman. We were shooting something for you, Kaitlyn, and it was that year. And I think Barrett and Tim were like, "Who's going to win the next Olympics?" And I think me and Boyd were just like, "Yeah, Kaitlyn is." And they're like, "Oh, really? Like, you guys believe in that so much?" And we're just like, "Yeah, of course." You know, like, she's got the spirit. She's got the, you know, what it takes, which is having that drive, but then also having that chillness and you know, regard to the fun, you know, where you need it. So, so brilliant. So here's a question from one of our academy students, Hazel. She's asking, what are some of the challenges, if there are any, that have faced, that you have both faced in snowboarding, with it having started as such a male-dominated sport?
Barrett, you go first.
Yeah, I mean, when I started, it was mid 90s, early 90s, but I didn't start competing till like early 90s. So 94, I guess, I did like the amateur nationals, and I like pretty quickly lined up with a group of girls that I followed around and looked up to. So it didn't feel like it was a sport for the boys. It always felt pretty inclusive. Snowboarding did, but there were times like when I did nationals, it was just pipe, or you were a racer and you raced gates. But then, you know, a few years later, they started holding big air events at a few resorts, and the girls weren't invited, and it was just a boys thing. And honestly, most of the jumps were kind of sketchy, and a lot of the girls didn't want to do them anyway. But I wanted to do them, and I remember doing a big air event at Aspen Mountain before Aspen allowed snowboarding, and they like had the whole area fenced off at the bottom of the hill, and you know, the snowboarders could stay in the corral, but you couldn't go outside of the fence, and you could hit the jump for the entertainment of the skiers down below, but you couldn't go ride the mountain. You had to hike up to hit the jump, and I mean, there's a few things at play there, but it was just for the boys. And I remember I wanted to hit it, and you know, a couple of us did, but that was it. It was just for nothing, and there was no prize money to be won. But you know, a couple of years later, X Games started in '97 having snowboarding, and they did big air and slopestyle and border cross and pipe, and women were invited equally to all of them. And when it came down to it, that big air event, there was like maybe 10 of us that did the big air. And I mean, for me, I know my memory's a little blurry about that time period, but that was like one of the bigger events in snowboarding, like first big televised, like national mainstream event. And they included the ladies, and, you know, we were probably not doing, I know we weren't doing the tricks the guys were doing, but we were all kind of figuring it out at the time, because that was a new format and a whole new discipline. But you know, so besides like the not getting invites to some of those early events, I feel like, you know, the challenge is it's easy to overlook them, because snowboarding's always been pretty open to the girls and the guys. And I always felt like at that time, when snowboarding was trying to like really set its roots and like get established as what it's come to be, a mainstream, you know, sport. Like the industry has been all about the men and the women participating. And so I know there's been like different stories along the way and different challenges, but I felt pretty happy with how I started in it, and it set me up with like a good path for the future. Kaitlyn, I bet you have some stories.
I don't know. I mean, when I started, I was one of two. My best friend was on snowboard team with me. I'm from Sun Valley, Idaho, for those of you that don't know. But my best friend was on snowboard team. It was kind of our joke. We did it for the dudes. I come from a small town in Idaho, so it was always just like our joke. We got to go travel to all these different ski areas, and we just met so many people because when I competed, it was like, oh, I forget what, but I was like Idaho, Utah, and Wyoming was our ranges for USASA contests. And I think it was like me and one other girl in open class for like 2 years. So it was awesome because I always just like, I either won or lost. And so I never did worse than second. So it was kind of funny. So I think like snowboarding, I don't know. We always joke. I do some women's camp. I work for SAS, and we do some women's camp, and we always joke. We're like, what if there was a snowboard trip where it was 90% women and just 10% or men, or like a contest, and see what the dudes would do, because it would be, you kind of just learn to hang at a young age and you just accept it. And I think that's kind of what I did at a young age. It was good. It was a fun time. Always kept it fun.
I love that. Those are some great explanations.
Kind of all over the board, but yeah.
Speaking of mentors, Wally just jumped on with us, who we just had an interview with. And yeah, looking at that, who are some of your guys' mentors? I know, Kaitlyn, you've expressed how much Barrett has kind of influenced you in your career.
Yeah.
Either answer A with how that kind of meant, what that meant for you, or you can jump into, you know, who's been some of your mentors along this way.
I mean, definitely Barrett has played a big part in my snowboard career, but I also think for me, just my friends were mentors that we're on tour with. And I mean, I think Kelly Clark was a big mentor of mine, but she's also my friend. So it's weird to just call her my mentor. And so I don't know. I think that just the people that you're traveling with, I think they all end up kind of being a mentor in some way, because you spend so much time with these people and you're living together, you're doing everything together. So I feel like everyone kind of ended up being a mentor. You were a mentor when we were on the team together, riding POW in Italy at a contest. And, you know, just that you're just hanging out all the time. So I think everybody kind of leans into being mentors.
Yeah, I love that about the community. I mean, that's the thing that has kept me in it all this time, is that community, because it's sort of ageless, and, you know, boys and girls. I mean, we're all kind of in it for the fun and for what goes on outside of the contest, right? So like the travel and the adventure and the experience of it all. And, you know, I think when you lose perspective of that, then you maybe get too focused on just a contest result, then things start falling apart. But it's having those mentors around. And I traveled too with like girls like Michelle Taggart was a huge mentor to me. She had it so dialed, and when I started competing at the pro events with her, she had already been doing it for a while. She used to win GS and slalom races, then she was winning pipe events, and she had covers free riding and rode Alaska, and she was such a strong rider and just had the travel so dialed and always knew like how to get around. I mean, this was before everybody's booking their own flights. So her family had a travel agency, so that helped too. And they would always book the flights for us, but she knew where to stay and she knew where to eat and just where to go to have fun and how to do it in each country. And And so she was a huge mentor to me, and just how to like balance it all and have fun while you're trying to be serious and competitive at the same time. And there were so many mentors that early on, like Morgan LaFont and Megan Pischke were close friends of mine that I traveled with, and we weren't necessarily competing at all the same events together, but they were huge mentors just because they knew how to live life to the fullest and always have their own style and do it their own way.
That's brilliant. Any bucket list trips you guys would recommend to somebody to put on their bucket list for their lifetime?
For their lifetime. Methved, New Zealand. Don't actually go there. It's a beautiful spot, but I wouldn't recommend spending too much time. I don't know. I feel like I started collecting fridge magnets from everywhere that I went at some point, and now I went to all the same places so many times that I don't get any new fridge magnets. But if it leaves a special trip in my heart, I'll always grab a new one. But I feel like New Zealand has always been my big favorite bucket list when I used to go there for snowboarding in the summer. It was just a fun experience as well, doing other things like running around on the rocks and I don't know, just going on day adventures down there. But I love snowboarding in South America as well. That's one of my favorites, in Argentina. And I don't know.
When are you guys going down to Argentina? You have one of your trips coming up in the fall?
Those are in August.
Okay.
So hopefully.
Nice.
But yeah, and then I don't know, just everywhere. I love traveling, and I've really enjoyed a lot of the travels I had. I can't just pick one, I feel like.
Yeah, I think bucket list would be a trip to Argentina with Kaitlyn. That would be fun.
That's fun too.
I'm like a really highly recommend Baldface. It's such a fun lodge to go stay in, and little 3 to 4 day adventures, catboarding. It's awesome terrain, endless powder, and they always find places to get you into, whether you want to be challenged or you want just bottomless mellow cruisers. And the experience of staying in a lodge like that and getting fed 5-star meals and that kind of adventure is definitely worthy of a bucket list trip. But I mean, I like the adventure of just going to Mount Baker when it's good, and that's kind of an adventure for us. That would be our home mountain, but it's still 4 hours from here. So when we go on the weekends and we go when it's good up there, and it's always worthwhile, and you can do it for cheap, and it's independent resort, owned and run by the Howitt family, and that place is pretty magical. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I kind of like to stay close to home. I drive to Nelson, BC is where you take off to go to Baldface, or drive to Baker. I spent a lot of years in Colorado, and the snow is great. It's maybe a little more risky for getting out and going adventuring, and I feel like that Northwest snowpack just suits me and is a little more friendly and predictable.
What's the Baker kind of bank slalom to you, Barrett? And Kaitlyn, have you ever been over for the Baker bank slalom?
I did my first year this year, and so it's been something that I'd wanted to do since I started snowboarding, I feel like, and it just never worked out with my schedule. And this year it worked out at the very last minute, but I got a lot to do to get faster for next year. I should have paid attention when Boydie was waxing my snowboard. That one I could have retained a little more information.
Somebody wax your board for you all the time. You never learn how to do it yourself.
Never had to learn. So I could figure that one out.
Oh, that was the other thing with Michelle, is she knew how to tune boards. So like, we didn't have a tuner on the road with us, and nobody was doing it for us, and she knew how to do edges and how to get your base dialed, and that helped a lot. But yeah, the bank slalom has been the first one I did was in, I think it was 95, my first trip to Baker too, and that was pretty fun. I don't think there were a whole lot of us that did it. I think I got third, but I just wanted to go back and do more. And I only won the pro women's once, and I got some seconds and thirds, but it's pretty fun. It was that year that I won, Temple won too, and he's won a few more than I have, but that was a pretty special experience. And then I've moved on to pro masters now. So now I do the older pro category, and it's not easy. And I won that one once, but I haven't been able to win it again. And the older I get, the more younger girls move into pro masters, and the harder it's getting. But it doesn't, I mean, it's fun. Like now my kids race it, and it's just, it's a fun experience, and like you can have a good time getting down the course and just not even look at the clock if you didn't go fast, and it's still fun.
Like that. And for me, like the bank slalom's kind of, it's just, you can see an overall rider. I guess if you guys wanted to touch on just the importance of, a lot of kids coming in nowadays are like, oh, I'm specialized in half pipe, or I'm specialized in slopestyle, or I just want to be rails, and they're 10 to 12 years old, and they're really wanting to make that focus at such a young age. And I just wanted to see what your guys' thoughts are on the importance of being an overall rider. Obviously, both of you guys are been in backcountry and half pipe and jumping, and just can shred. What are you guys' thoughts on that for our younger ones coming up?
I mean, I think it's really important. I grew up on a mountain that didn't have a park or anything in Sun Valley. And when I lived there, they didn't have anything. And so it was like we used, I don't know, cat tracks and just like snow gun jumps as our jumps, and kind of like made do. And I feel like it just made me a strong rider, being able to like, I don't know, ride anything, ride big mountains, or just like be able to go fast, and kind of made me learn my edges. I feel like that was important. But once I had to quit half pipe, I feel like I wish I knew my edge control I have now back then. But I feel like just being an overall rider is super important, because you can, I don't know, it keeps it fun too. That's why I feel like I liked working with Elijah, because you pushed me into hitting jumps and rails more than just sitting and doing half pipe laps all the time. So I loved the jump days, because it was just something different, and it's just not as like jockish feeling.
Yeah, when I started competing, I did a couple pipe events, but it was really all over the place. Like we did slope and pipe, and I tried to race gates once and failed miserably, but I did border crosses and extreme events too. And I'd ridden for a few years at Crested Butte before I ever started competing, and I followed that mountain was primarily skiers at the time, and they didn't have a park or pipe, and so it was like all my friends were skiers, and following them around the mountain and get, like Kaitlyn said, edge control, and being able to hold my speed and traverse and stay, traverse uphill and just keep up was huge, because that helped so much when it came to riding. By the time I got to Summit County and rode parks and pipes, it felt like, oh, this is pretty easy. I didn't have any tricks, but I knew I could go big, and I knew how to find transitions, and I knew how to, had some air awareness. So the tricks had to come later, but yeah, that made such a big difference, and it still is, like, I think it's really important. And you see, now with the modified pipes and with the way the slope styles are, you can tell who can turn their board and who can ride outside of the park just by watching their runs. You can really see the strength, and it also helps you recover from mistakes. Like if you do make a mistake, you're able to get right back on your path, because you've got that like awareness of edge control and where your body is while you're riding. And I don't think you get that when you are exclusively in one discipline and that's all you do.
Totally. Yeah. Wally was on with us the other day talking about the importance of, even getting outside your sport and doing surfing, which I know, Barrett, you're really adamant about, and skateboarding, and just being able to have the different muscle groups that you're, if you're constantly engaging just the snowboard aspect, you're going to be the same muscles, you're going to wear yourself out. Whereas if you're getting kind of the diversification of, and just the fun of, oh, I'm out of snowboarding for a couple of months, which is what we have the opportunity to be at now. When I come back into it, I'm gonna be that much more stoked. Or same with injury, where it's like you come back even more powerful, I feel like, because you had that time, that self-reflection that a lot of times we don't have the time to do. So kind of segmented into Wally. He had a question. He says, love you guys. And he's asking, how were your parents when you told them you were going to pursue a career in snowboarding?
My parents were, I think my dad knew that I was going to, just because I was doing so well and just like the local contests and kind of starting around the US. And I don't know, I think my dad just gave me the keys and said, drive. So it was pretty good. It worked out pretty well for me.
Yeah, your dad's a cowboy.
Yeah, he's like, here you go, have fun.
Either that or he was going to give you a horse.
Yep.
Oh, that's awesome. My parents didn't have any idea what snowboarding was. And when I left home, I didn't leave home, Pennsylvania, until I was 18, and started snowboarding at 19, and would just like write postcards. Oh, I went skiing today, and like I went to Lake Tahoe, and just sort of like dabbled in skiing out there, and then picked up snowboarding when I realized I wasn't very good at skiing, and snowboarding just looked easier. And so I picked it up, and then I remember telling him that I wanted to do this, and I had friends that were getting paid to snowboard, and I wanted to just figure out a way to do it more. And wasn't like I thought there was an income stream in my future. It was more just like I just need to figure out how to do something so I can snowboard more. And and I didn't have support from my parents at that point, so they couldn't really say. It was like the first realization I had where I was like, well, you can't really tell me what to do, because I'm not there anymore, and you're not sending me to college. I have to pay for that on my own, so I'm just gonna snowboard. I'm gonna take another year off, and I'm gonna snowboard. And so they didn't. I don't think they thought it was a smart decision at first, but they supported me and were happy that I was apparently doing something healthy and out in the outdoors, and figuring out how to make it on my own. So they were supportive in that way, but it definitely took like getting a picture in a magazine and getting, maybe some of those early contests were on TV and they got to see it. And then they figured out that it was like a movement, and that there was, it was growing, and that it was kind of cool. And they're super proud now after the fact that I made it out alive. But, my mom just sent me a scrapbook she saved of every single photo, like, because in the beginning I'd tell her, oh, I'm in this magazine, and she'd go and buy it, and she'd cut it out, put it in a scrapbook. She also saved every postcard I sent her from every trip I went on, and like, it's really cool. I kind of feel like I'm failing as a mom now because I haven't been doing that for my kids, but I've taken a couple pictures in magazines. But that's an amazing thing to look back on, because I know even though she was probably giving me some grief at the time, she was really proud and saved every little, even like when somebody mentioned my name somewhere along the way, she cut that out and put it in the scrapbook. And
that's awesome.
That's where all my archives are coming from on my feed lately. Thanks, Mom.
If you need a good feed, follow Barrett, because she's got very insightful.
There's a lot of material to cover from the 90s on.
I just can't believe how much of it you have. It's amazing.
Oh, yeah, and it's not just my material. It's like I have boxes of magazines and, saved I don't know why I saved half of them. I haven't really gotten in to read them all yet, but every time I open up a box and start looking, it's hours and hours down that rabbit hole. But yeah, I mean, those were issues I pored over, and, you know, pictures and people that influenced me and that I just, you know, aspired to be like.
Hmm. You're preparing for now. That's why you saved all the mags.
What?
You were preparing for this moment in history. That's why you were saving it all.
I think between Temple and I mean, I wouldn't say we're hoarders, but we definitely had a hard time throwing stuff away from snowboarding. We still have a hard time with it. And Temple's family owned Northwest Snowboards, the retail shops that were in Washington for 25 years maybe. And they stopped operating a while ago, kind of at the emergence of online retail, but they had a good long run, and they had archives upon archives of their own. They have an amazing board collection, and then when Temp and I combined our stuff, we had to build a new garage to put it all in.
I love it.
We have a lot of stuff.
I love it. Well, here, my brother's just tuning in. Hey, what is it?
I said I thought someday my kids would appreciate it. But Canon just wants to sell it all and buy like new Air Force Ones and Jordans and stuff. So maybe later on he'll appreciate it more.
Right. Here's one from my brother, Abe. He's asking kind of what gave you a strong mental edge competitively?
Well, I think I grew up competitive. I think I was always a competitive person. And so I think it was just kind of a natural thing for me that, I don't know, I guess, I don't know, that was just, I grew up competitive, and I just always wanted to do better, or I wanted to win. And that was kind of how I grew up.
Love it. Knockout games.
Knockout games. It was me against my older sister, and yeah.
You win?
Always.
Yeah. Of course. My competitive edge, I grew up doing gymnastics and then field hockey and lacrosse, and I kind of dabbled in a bunch of different stuff, but just never really had the focus or dedication to apply for the long term. But yeah, I was always competitive too, and probably still am. But I think it's just like this with snowboarding, you just sort of like, you build on each accomplishment, and that gives you confidence. And then you're like, well, I did this, so I could do that, or I beat this person then, so I have what it takes to do it again. And it's just like really leaning in on your self-confidence, I think. And that would waver. And I know when it did waver, I would get hurt, or I would, you know, start to do poorly and then have to like catch up again. And that's a funny, fickle game to play, because it's so much of it's mental, and confidence can take you a long way. I mean, you still have to have the tricks or the skills to put down, but you have to have your mental game and your competitive edge, and you don't have to do it by being, you know, mean or aggressive or rude, but you still, like, it's in you. You have to have the fire, or there's no point in doing it, right? I mean, I'd say Kaitlyn had a lot of success. Whatever she was doing, you guys should do.
Yeah, I think, I'm just always competitive. I joke now because I have friends here that when there's like the bank slaloms at my home mountain now, that they're like, oh, you should enter. I'm like, I can't enter. And they're like, why not? I was like, because I can't lose. And I think it's just like a really funny, and it's like, now that I don't compete anymore, I realize how competitive I actually was. That like when I was in the moment, I feel like I didn't think I was that competitive, but secretly I really was.
Secretly.
I don't know if it was that secret, but
That's good. Um, I guess, what do you guys enjoy working most with each other? So like, you guys coming together many years ago and kind of working together as mentor of each other. I'm sure Barrett was mentored by you as well, Kaitlyn, just because you're just so, I don't know, it's just something about you that you just are very, the genuineness of yourself. I mean, just the open, you're just a rad individual.
I'm an open
What
book.
what have you guys learned from each other in this, because I'm trying to hit on just, for like what that dynamic, I think a lot of people look at sponsorships and they're just like, okay, I got to go and get a sponsor and I got to make enough money so I can go on these trips. And as opposed to going into a sponsorship and being like, no, this is like another rad human being that is part of this rad organization. And how do I align my, who I am with who they are?
Yeah, I mean, well, for me, I mean, I met Barrett at such a young age that it was like she brought me up in the world of snowboarding with GNU, and just being able to be a part of something for that long. It's like Barrett's like my second mother in a way, because she's known me through like my hardest times, and just like we have that connection because it's just like one of those things we've gone through a lot together, whether it's being at contests, the hardships of not being at contests, or just injuries, and even, I don't know, just being late night at contests. You never know. But I feel like we've just been through a lot together, and we've created a friendship, and it's just not like a work thing of.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it goes, for people like Kaitlyn, to be able to work with her on a professional level is awesome, because she is open to anything, and she's a hard worker, and she's loyal, and all the things you want with a team rider. But it goes beyond that. I mean, yeah, I feel like Kaitlyn probably could be my daughter, although well, I'd rather think of you as a younger sister, I think. But yeah, I mean, the working relationship is like with anyone. I mean, the ones that shine bright, like I feel like no matter what company I was with, like I'd want Kaitlyn on that team, and if she moves into a role behind the scenes at some point, like I'd want Kaitlyn there, just because I know more of Kaitlyn than her snowboarding. I know she's dedicated, and she's good at communicating with people. You could put her with any group and she will be able to have a good time and make them smile, and make them better just at whatever they're doing. And that's why those SAS trips are probably an amazing experience for anyone that signs on to them, because like just going on an adventure with Kaitlyn is definitely bucket list stuff. And
That's for sure.
But yeah, I mean, like within the industry, like people move around a lot. I'm fortunate to have had such a long relationship with Mervyn, and they were my first sponsor. So I've moved into different roles over the years with Mervyn, and currently I have the pleasure of working on product and with the team. But I mean, as people move around, you see like they bring their crew with them, and you know why? Because like people that are like Kaitlyn is a good fit for Mervyn, but she'd be a good fit for any brand, I think. Just the formula is having somebody that's a good spokesperson and ambassador, and fun to be with.
Truth. Kaitlyn, I just wanted to hit on quick, going from working hard and then coming out Olympic gold. If you guys haven't seen it, check out Kaitlyn's you should research these guys till you can't anymore, because it's just feeling you're going to be constantly inspired. But how was that comeback, kind of coming out of a high to then going almost probably to a low, probably one of the deeper lows, just with the retired at 25 per se, which was the perception, which obviously it wasn't, but it was at that time you felt like you were retired, where you just were learning the new opportunities that were being put before you, because you're still shredding, you're still inspiring. How did you kind of come to peace with that, and then also come back to that heart of who you are, which is a hard worker, and that competitive mentality coming back in?
I think mainly it was going back to like why I started snowboarding. I just had to kind of go back to the basics, and I honestly just love snowboarding. And so it was kind of a weird, because it was like a high to a high, very low. And I was like getting a little teary about it. But it was just going back to like the basics of snowboarding. Why did I start snowboarding at a young age? Why I loved it. And that kind of just kept me going through it. And so I think that's kind of really what it was. Sorry. Actually, I'm not. But I don't know. Yeah, it's just like, it was a weird thing to just have an injury. I thought I was going to be able to continue on with what I'd done for the past like 10 years of my life and dedicated everything to it. And so for it just to be like taken away was really surprising, and it happened just at the weirdest time. And so it was just going back to the basics of why I love snowboarding. I loved riding powder. That's why I joked about my edge control earlier, because all I do is turn now, and I love it. It's so fun. And I'm like, man, if I knew what I knew now about my edges, I would be that much better of a half pipe rider. But that's my competitiveness coming back too, because even just thinking about that. But yeah, I just wanted to continue snowboarding, and so got into backcountry. And I am a fair snowboarder, I like to call myself these days, because when friends call me and they're like, yeah, let's go ride this, what's the snow like? Oh, it's not that great. I'm like, I'll pass. So it's kind of one of those funny things, just getting back to the basics. And I think that's what keeps me going.
Yeah, I had Gigi on the other day, and Gigi was talking about why he created Slash. And I was like, yeah, I want to be able to slash when I'm 70 years old, So
Yeah.
it's like, and then, taking with that and creating experiences from that, or having a brand around that, and realizing that at some point it is, yeah, you're still killing it, Kaitlyn. And for you to take it and go with it where you have is, just want to keep bringing people to realize the power you are as a snowboarder. In my eyes, if people get to know, like, everybody that knows you knows that you are probably one of the most raddest snowboarders out there. And, I've met a lot of snowboarders, and and I love Barrett, and I love a lot of riders, but you're still probably my favorite snowboarder of all time, Kaitlyn.
Well, thanks, Slash.
Me too. Yeah, power turns. I mean, that's something that people can relate to, and it's still something people aspire to be better at. I mean, I've been turning a long time, and I still want to turn better. I still want to turn like Kaitlyn, with the speed and the confidence and strength. And but yeah, I know that I'm a mom now, so saying like someday you'll look back on this, but like, and it doesn't seem like it's been that long since you had to go through that. And I know you've had a lot of ups and downs since then, but like, I mean, what you accomplished was amazing, and your chapter got closed early on pipe competition, but like on the bright side, like you've so much more to do, and like so many more accomplishments ahead of you that, that's just like, that's something nobody, like most people can never say they're going to go and win an Olympic gold medal. And like, I mean, most people don't have the confidence to say it. And then the reality is that most people won't get a chance to even try it. It's such a cool thing to like look back on later on and be like extremely proud of, but like, there's so much more that you're doing and are still going to do because you stopped when you did. And, to try to pick up and start a new chapter in snowboarding when you're in your mid 30s is probably a little harder and like, physically challenging, but you are still so young and strong that like anything you pick up after that, like you've still got that strength and confidence that'll take you anywhere.
Anybody can. You just got to
tried to
tap
win an
into
Olympic
it. Everybody has it.
I couldn't win an Olympic gold medal. I had my chance and I didn't do it.
That's craziness.
It's such as everything, but it's the moment to moment, right? So it's like that for me. That's what snowboarding is that moment to moment that we get to live in, and just the feeling of it. And Kaitlyn, you get to be more like me now. I'm cruising around the mountain, getting to hit little things, and
Oh yeah.
Just more of that, like just constant tranny, always tranny.
Tranny finders.
Tranny finders. Kaitlyn, are you inspired with Barrett? And pushing into the outreach and like the boarding for breast cancer, and kind of is that kind of maybe more at the forefront of kind of your vision nowadays?
Yeah, I mean, I started working with boarding for breast cancer probably when a couple years after I met Barrett, because the ties there. And so I feel like it was always a good organization to be a part of. Actually, I have my mug still. And so it was just, I don't know, I feel like it just helped with the like healthy women getting out, just kind of everything, be active, everything that I stand behind. And so kind of more advocacy stuff, working with POW a lot, doing school assemblies, which are usually pretty fun, but also very intimidating because
I bet, dude. I bet they're so cool though.
To stand in front of.
I could imagine standing in front of a younger me. Yeah.
Exactly. Think of 1,000 17-year-olds. It's crazy.
The thing about Kaitlyn though is you could put her in front of 1,000 17-year-olds or 1,000 like middle-aged men or women, and she would still like be able to connect with them. I feel like you do probably pretty well with teenage boys still. So
yeah, they listen to me sometimes, huh, Thor? I see Thor on the call. I know Thor from SAS, so and I've had to yell at him a time or two before.
Any advices for young girls wanting to kind of follow in your guys' footsteps from Wally?
I mean, I think, I don't know, anything's possible, and also just follow your heart in a way and do what's best for you. That's what I feel like helped me along the way.
Yeah, I think that you can't follow somebody else's footsteps. You have to set your own. And, I mean, every day is a new start. Every season is a new start. And I've seen the industry and snowboarding evolve so much over the years and change paths, and like what's cool now might not be cool next year. And like, I mean, if you're true to yourself and you have a strong sense of confidence and what you want to accomplish, then just like don't let anything stand in the way. And that goes for girls or boys. And you can be proud of your accomplishments, but always try to like look ahead, because I've heard somewhere that your greatest accomplishments should always be ahead of you and not stuff you've done before, but use those as building blocks, and like try to keep goals always ahead of you that you're working towards.
Yeah,
I'm trying to take that advice myself too.
Right.
In progress.
Yeah.
Anything else that you guys would like to kind of share with the community?
Well, I can't believe that this meeting went so quickly, but I just wanted to say that Kaitlyn hiked volcanoes, and like that's not something that your average snowboarder wants to do or sets out to do, but like real quick, Kaitlyn, how many volcanoes did you climb and snowboard in?
24 of them.
24.
A lot of them were in your guys' backyard, or where you're
at. I saw you on some part of that journey, but like in how many days? That was quick.
It was like 4, I think we had 5 week span, but we ran into some weather. for like 2 weeks.
It's insane. And then Denali too,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, I mean, that, again, not every snowboarder wants to make that trip, but you and Lucas and Maria Tabaris, and who else was on that with you?
Jerry Marks is a bunch of Baker friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a bunch of your locals from Baker.
Yeah.
Just
Well,
the friendships you make along the way of snowboarding. It's pretty crazy. Or skiing.
but yeah.
So true. And I guess last question I have for you guys is, what do you want your legacy or your impact to be, either in this life or in snowboarding?
I just want my kids to think I'm cool and to listen to me and respect me. And, you know, I mean, I think that that's what I just saw Bobby's comment about shop tours.
Shop tours? You do shop tours?
Shop tours. I know Bobby and I met on shop tours, or maybe we didn't meet there, but we had to do some shop touring together as pro riders. And I want to do those again. I mean, not personally, I don't need to be the one sitting there signing posters, but those were so impactful, like going to retailers and having a group of pros sit around with a DJ outside and a barbecue and posters to sign, and like just that like human interaction that obviously right now none of us are getting that much of, but like just having that connection with people would be so stoked to sit and chat with a group of pros at a retail, like just a brick and mortar retail store. And it doesn't happen much anymore.
It's funny. It's all I remember is like, well, not all I remember, but I just remember always having to do these shop tours. And then I would show up and it'd be like you and me, and we'd be like, hey, and then we just sit around, shoot the shit for a bit. Kids would come up, sign some posters or whatever. But it was always just you and I.
Yeah.
We spent more time, I think, at shop tours than we have in real life in general.
Always got to have that buddy.
Yeah. She's my shop tour buddy.
Yeah. Bobby, I was thinking about you because Bobby and I worked together with Nike at Nike 6.0 at the start of that, and then Nike snowboarding. But you got to listen to Justin Benny's podcast if you guys want a good podcast.
It's so good.
The Bomb Hole with E. Stone and Chris Grenier, and I listened to Benny's yesterday. Those were some good memories.
Yeah, so good.
Yeah.
Those guys are, they got quite the production actually. And
yeah, it looks pretty pro.
Pretty nice, yeah.
Anyway, I really like this format. I'm glad you guys are doing this, and I'm tuning into your others too. It's fun to hear young and old.
Barrett, did you show everybody your skate park outside?
No. I told them that there's a kid rolling around here earlier. Our scooter buddy isn't here anymore. No, somebody's out there putting on a show right now. So, yeah, no, it's nice because the kids have a concrete driveway, and we built transitions into the planters, and so Cannon has been able to skate pretty well over the years because we just kick him off the TV or the device and he comes out and skates. It hasn't gotten me to skate though.
Come on, you got it still.
Well, you can pull that scooter out there, Barrett.
Yeah, maybe the scooter. My daughter sometimes puts the roller skates on. Yeah. I think Temple's trying to throw her rollerblades away, but the roller skates are still rolling around here.
I had roller skates on, or I used to have rollerblades. You know, I skated and then I did rollerblading a little bit, and it's just, all my friends gave me such a hard time, but I really had so much fun doing it. It was just like flips all over the place and hand plants, and I don't know. It's funny how at young ages we're our own hardest critics. You know, I feel like I've always tried to inspire the youth with just, you know, finding that truth within and don't care what other people say, because you know, we can kind of be hard on each other in that and make ourselves more self-conscious than just that inspiration. So if it's a scooter, if it's rollerblading, whatever, just get out there and have fun and do it.
Well, I look forward to seeing you at the Bob and the Wendell's Park this summer on your rollerblades.
Right. I'm thinking about it, and yeah, good. Hopefully you guys can get over. Kaitlyn, hopefully it'd be fun to get you down here and get a little meetup going. Go
Yeah,
over to High Skate and go hang out. It'd be super fun.
that could be a good time.
You got a place. We'd love to host you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much for your time. I could go on for hours talking to you guys in this conversation, but yeah, let's try to get together again soon.
Thank you. This
Yeah.
is awesome.
Thanks for having us again, too.